I think we're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. We'll bring to order the Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting for Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Stephanie Chen,
Present.
Heidi Anderson,
Present.
Doug Doolittle,
Present.
Darla Lee. I have to add her to the meeting. One moment. Darla Lee. I'll come back to her. She's probably getting set up. Chris Nenzel,
Present.
Jennifer Oliver. Here. Greg Shorts. Darla Lee.
Say present.
Present.
Great. Everyone's here. We have a quorum.
You just check. What are you doing? You like.
Thank you. Commissioner Oliver, would you like to lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance?
Dear God.
Thank you. Item 3, do we have any public comments? And if you're attending by Zoom and you have any public comment, please click on the raise hand icon.
No public comment.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to item 4, approval of the agenda for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of September 7th. Are there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Doug Doolittle.
Christopher Menzel.
Thank you, Commissioner Menzel. Before we take a vote, are there any public comments for the approval of the agenda?
No public comment.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and take a we already took up the motion, sorry. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 5, approval of the minutes for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of August 3rd, 2021. Any corrections? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
To approve, this is Jennifer Oliver.
Thank you, Commissioner Oliver.
Second, Greg Shorts.
Thank you, Commissioner Schwartz. Any public comments?
No public comment.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We'll go ahead and go on to item 6, acknowledgement and recognition of park operations staff for their outstanding service and contributions to Washoe County.
We have none.
Item 7, Eagle Scout presentation.
We have no Eagle Scout presentation this month.
We'll go ahead and move on to item 8, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to acknowledge and agree to the abandonment and termination of right of reverter by the Grantor Ridges at Hunter Creek 3, which would remove the right of reverter clause, sorry, my agenda went away, from the trailhead easement granted to Washoe County in 2005 and recorded in 2007 as document number 3592575 for the Michael D. Thompson trailhead.
That should be good.
Okay. All right, try this again. Good afternoon, Chair Chen and Commissioners. Sophia Kirschman, Park Planner with Washoe County Planning for the record. This item is the Michael D. Thompson Trailhead Right of Reverter Abandonment. Next slide, please.
Is it just working a minute ago? I'm going to try one more time. No?
No.
Can you advance it?
Aha, all right.
Okay.
Technical difficulties today. All right, so just to provide a little bit of context and background information here, Washoe County holds, or Washoe County manages the Michael D. Thompson Trailhead. It is shown here in green. The portion that is shown in green that is not within the outlined blue area is actually a parcel that Washoe County owns that is part of the trailhead. And then the portion that is shown in green that is within the confines of the blue area is an easement that Washoe County holds for the other portion of the Michael D. Thompson Trailhead. As mentioned earlier, that easement was granted to Washoe County in 2005 and was recorded in 2007. The original easement grantors were David J. and Claudia Ann Thompson and Ridges Investment LLC. The parcel is now owned by Ridges at Hunter Creek 3 LLC, making them the easement grantor's successors in interest. There was an opening ceremony in 2009, and there might be some familiar faces there from that opening ceremony day. So the Michael D. Thompson easement contains a right of reverter clause, and that clause basically states that the Michael D. Thompson Trailhead will be designated and named as such in perpetuity. Should that name be changed or signs with that name destroyed and not replaced within a reasonable amount of time, the easement would then terminate and revert to the grantors or their heirs, successors, and/or assigns. Negotiations are currently underway between the current owner of the property, the Ridges at Hunter Creek 3 LLC, and the Forest Service to sell this property to the Forest Service. However, the Forest Service will not purchase the property with this clause in the easement document to protect their interests. The request today is for Washoe County to acknowledge and agree to the abandonment of that right of reverter. I would, however, like to note that Washoe County has no intention of changing that trailhead name, and staff have requested that should the Forest Service purchase the property, that some sort of agreement be made between the Forest Service and Washoe County to ensure that the name remains the same in perpetuity. Staff did reach out to the Thompson family and did hear back, and they are in strong opposition to the abandonment of that right of reverter clause. However, staff is recommending support of the abandonment of the right of reverter clause to support our agency partners. And like I mentioned before, there is still no intention to change the name. And with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions. I do believe that there is a representative of the current property owner, Ridges at Hunter Creek 3 LLC, here today, in case you have any questions for them.
So this is Commissioner Nentzel. I have a question. Isn't the right of reverter clause essentially the same thing that you're saying you would agree to with the Forest Service?
A memorandum of understanding would be somewhat different in that it is an agreement between the agencies that is the intention, is to maintain that name. However, should the name be changed, the property would not revert to the grantors, is the main difference there. It's basically to show that Washoe County is acting in good faith and would like to uphold the terms of the original agreement and the original easement, and would like to ensure that the intent of that easement is maintained in perpetuity, while still supporting our agency partners and allowing them to purchase the property.
This is Doug Doolittle. A question I would have is the opposition that the Thompson family has is exactly what?
I think, I don't want to speak on behalf of them. I think that there are probably concerns about Washoe County changing the name in the future. Sometimes the original intention of agreements gets lost if it's not in writing and in stone.
And as a follow-up question, there's no intent at all if the Forest Service acquires this land to gate it or limit the access to the trail based on what the easement was originally set up for?
No, none whatsoever. And Washoe County has had some preliminary conversations with staff from the Forest Service. Basically, if the property were to be purchased by the Forest Service, Washoe County would need to enter into a maintenance agreement with the Forest Service to essentially assure the Forest Service that Washoe County would continue to maintain the trailhead as we have been since 2009 in perpetuity moving forward.
Okay, another question. The need for the Forest Service to acquire this land is what?
I don't know that there is necessarily a need. I think that the current owners have an interest in selling the property, and there is some rationale behind the Forest Service acquiring the parcel, since this would guarantee access in perpetuity and would also directly connect to Forest Service lands. I mean, most of the Hunter Creek, most of this area, the creek area, and then the Michael D. Thompson trailhead and trail lead right into Forest Service lands.
Right, and that whole outlined area would be the area that the Forest Service is looking at purchasing?
That's correct. That is my understanding. If I could go.
Okay.
It's not working now, but yes,
Yeah,
the blue parcel.
Okay.
It's Commissioner Nensel again. I just want to be sure I'm clear. The area within the blue on I think the second slide is the area that the Forest Service is wanting to acquire, and the area outside of it is what Washoe County will retain.
So the area in blue, as I understand it, is the area that is up for sale to the Forest Service. The area in green is the area that Washoe County holds an easement on and would continue to maintain as part of the Michael D. Thompson trailhead.
And okay, is not the parking lot in the area and the facilities and the actual access to the Hunter Creek Trail inside the blue area?
So there's a portion of the green area that's not inside the blue, and the portion that's not inside the blue is a parcel that Washoe County actually owns, and there is some parking. There's horse trailer parking there, but the actual Michael D. Thompson trailhead with the restroom facilities and the majority of the parking is on an easement within a parcel that is currently owned by the Ridges at Hunter Creek 3.
I don't suppose there's any way that we could buy that?
Yeah, that would be my next question. Is Washoe County considered purchasing that parcel?
Because that would be a better way to do it.
There are limited funds, so I think that would be the primary hurdle in that case.
This is Doug.
Washoe County's thought is to allow the Forest Service to acquire what is essentially the trailhead and then hope for the best?
No. We would continue to hold the easement for the trailhead as we have in the past.
This is Deputy District Attorney Lindsay Liddell, hoping to clear up some confusion. It sounds like the proposal today is not to agree to an abandonment of the easement in its entirety. The easement would still remain, and Washoe County would be the grantee of that easement, but the proposal today is to abandon a clause within that easement.
Mr. Commissioner Shorts, I think we understand that part of it, but we kind of have to look at the whole package in why are we doing this? And we're doing this to protect a name that was on it and donated to it and has a significant background in trying to make sure that that is taken care of. We're not trying to, and we're just wondering what is the best way around that. So I know that our specific recommendations will be around this name, but we have to kind of look at the whole picture and would wonder from that why we're not involved in trying to purchase it. And I think the owners, back there of the property, is that who's? yeah, have some comment on that, looks like.
There is public comment, as soon as the chair would like to open it up for public comment on this item.
Commissioners, are there any other questions or do we need some clarification?
I have one question. This is Jennifer Oliver. Can you clarify, and I don't know if we have anyone from the Forest Service here, but can you kind of expand as to why they aren't accepting that clause?
It's like,
The representatives of the Ridges at Hunter Creek 3 LLC are here and available for questions if you'd like for them to answer that. As I understand it, there is a potential risk that should Washoe County decide to change the name in the future, that easement area would revert to the original grantors, and they don't want to accept that liability.
Can they come up and answer
Yeah.
that question?
Stephanie, did you want to?
Yeah, can we go ahead and please have the representatives from Ridges at Hunter Creek 3 come up and answer questions for commissioners?
First public comment is Rebecca Dixon.
I'm Rebecca Dixon, and I'm a representative, and along with my partner here. Let me try and make this a little bit simpler. I think it's gotten too complicated. So since 2016, we've been involved with the federal government in a transfer of not only this parcel, but 2 additional parcels that are connected to the wilderness. So this one parcel that Washoe County has an easement through is part of a larger transaction in which we're trying to include another couple hundred acres as part of the wilderness and the expansion of the current Hunter Creek access. So there's a Hunter Creek trailhead access at the base of this parking lot. The county owns that little puzzle-shaped piece, so you come across that, and that's where the horse trailers and things park. Then you come onto this parcel, which is still privately owned. Back in 2007, 2006, I'm not exactly sure, there was an intention to also connect this piece to the federal government that never was followed through upon. Fast forward to now, 2016, we approached them through the SNPLMA Act and said, we'd like to get all of these parcels that touch the government all the way around them and clean all this up. That said, we don't want to change the easement. We don't want to change the agreement with Washoe County. We certainly don't want to change the name. That's never been the intention. The federal government will not accept the property with that reverter clause because that clause basically projects a future interest. So what it says is that, okay, let's say the grantor, that would be us now, not the Thompsons. We don't like the way you're maintaining it. So we would have the right to step in and pull the whole thing back from you. We don't want to do that. We don't want to pull it back from either you or the federal government. We want to maintain it. So the risk to, I think the concern that the Thompsons have expressed to me, and again, don't want to speak for them, is that somebody might say one day, we want to change the name to somebody else. And so what we want to do is leave all the language in that document that says it will always be the Michael Thompson Trail. What the federal government will not accept is this idea that we could say, okay, we don't like the way you're doing it, we want to pull it back. So the only thing we're trying to change is the reversion clause. That's it. We're not trying to change the way it works. We're not trying to change how it's maintained. If at some future date, Washoe County and the U.S. Forest Service get together and they want to make changes between you guys, that will be entirely between you. But we're just trying to take a private piece of property that the public is currently using and has been using since 2007 and create an opportunity for the county and the government to do with it what they think is appropriate, not what this private party thinks. Does that help?
Yes.
Hopefully.
A little. I have a question. Can I ask a question during public comment of them? Okay. So what you're saying is that if you say you want to change the reverter clause, you don't want it to be abandoned, you want it to be changed.
No. Let's be really clear. The document is very short. The document basically says that in the event the county does not continue to maintain the easement as they have done in perpetuity, and they try to change the name of the trailhead, the grantor, us, would have the right to revert that property back to us.
Right.
That is onerous on the county, quite frankly. And it doesn't really have any merit anymore because when the Thompsons created that, they own the property. They haven't owned the property since 2008 or 9. So they technically would not be able to do that. We, however, as the successor and assigned, could do it. But it's very onerous to the county because it basically says if we don't like the way you're maintaining it, we're just going to pull the whole property back. That's 35 acres we're going to take back from you. So all we're doing is eliminating that one line. We're not changing anything else in the agreement. We're not saying you still have the easement just as you've always had it. Your responsibilities are exactly the same as they've always been, except that we no longer have the right to say to you, we're going to revert this back to us because it's not being maintained the way we want it. And the maintenance is pretty straightforward. It's don't change the name of the trail. Keep the trail monument that says Michael D. Thompson on it in good condition, which you have done. That's it. So it's really more of a benefit to the county. You would think that as the grantor, we would not agree to that. But quite frankly, it would be very difficult to enforce. And the federal government's not comfortable with it. We are very content to remove it. Does that help? Hopefully that explains it. I know it's kind of, I'm trying to make it simple. I feel like I'm making it more complicated.
So then I think for what the rest of us we're kind of thinking, there's really is no option that the county comes into this and purchases the property.
No, I mean, had the county
not
had some
realistically.
interest in purchasing it, we weren't aware of that.
Yeah.
From our perspective, and I have a real estate background, from
Yeah.
my perspective, this makes a lot of sense. It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
This proposal came to us from the Forest Service and the Nevada Land Trust as an idea where the county could win, the public could win, because now they're going to have the proper access to the wilderness.
Yeah.
We're including other parcels into this purchase, and so the county, I suppose, could have purchased it, but it's not a very big piece that you guys actually have. This probably makes more sense from my perspective, but that's just my opinion.
Because it's the rest of the properties.
It's a little bit
and stuff.
cleaner and smoother, and I don't know what the county, I don't know what you would do differently than what you do right now.
Can I say something? This is Doug Doolittle. You know, the guarantees that were made to the Thompson family in terms of the trailhead are in place. The partnerships between the county and the Forest Service have always been fairly good partnerships. Not a lot of adversity, and they've been complementary in the sense that they have worked with the SNPLMA funds and other funds to acquire properties that were beneficial to the public, and we're always connecting with the county in some way. So there is a benefit there. The only concern I have is that the Thompson family feels that this is not the right thing to do. I wish they were there to speak to that matter, or you could speak to it more, but I am concerned about the trailhead name remaining as it is. I know that there's no intent by the county to change that. There's certainly probably no intent by the Forest Service to change it, but there's also no guarantees going into the future with new management in all areas that something couldn't take place. That's just a comment. That's not a question.
Let me speak to that just a little bit. It is definitely not our intention. I think what the Thompsons have expressed to me, and I can't speak for them, is that they're very concerned that they lose their leverage if someone wanted to change the name. This document that we have, this is of record. The federal government has approved it. So they are absolutely in agreement with not changing the name. There is language in there that very clearly says that there can be action against the county if they try to change the name. So there's still some language in there that's appropriate. This makes it a little bit less onerous, but quite frankly, I don't know how it would be enforced because the Thompsons don't own the property. So there is language in the easement itself that clearly says what the county's responsibilities are. There's no confusion between them or us about what they're supposed to do. And the U.S. Forest Service and the federal government has reviewed this document and approved it.
Okay, just a final comment for me, I hope. Is there a possibility then for the county to enter into a separate agreement with the Thompson family regarding the naming of the maintaining of the name of that particular trailhead going into perpetuity?
I think so.
Well, the agreement that this is in place right now, that will not change, already has that in place.
All right.
So the agreement is already in place with the Thompsons and the county. And frankly, it's not technically, and I would ask the deputy district attorney to speak to this as a matter of law. I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is they're no longer a party to the agreement anyway, because we are the grantor, successor, and assign. Ridges at Hunter Creek 3. So they don't really have an option to do that. What we've tried to do to protect their interest and their thoughts is leave the easement that's already agreed to and has been operating quite well since 2007 intact. So we're not changing any language in the responsibilities between us and Washoe County. So hopefully that answers it.
Thank you for that information. Commissioners, do we have any other questions? Or do we need clarification on anything else?
We do have an additional public comment. David Geddes, do you wish to speak?
He's my partner on the project, so I think I covered it for both of us. Yes, I covered it for both of us.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
No, there isn't.
So this is up for action, commissioners. Do we feel comfortable to make a motion? Or do we need to further discuss this?
I'm good. Looks like we're good here. With that, I move to recommend the Board of County Commissioners acknowledge and agree to abandonment and termination of the right of reverter by the grantor Ridges of Hunter Creek 3, which would remove the right of reverter clause from the trailhead easement granted to Washoe County in 2005, recorded in 2007 as document 3592575 for the Michael D. Thompson Trailhead.
Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Schwartz.
Heidi Anderson, I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Great questions and great dialogue. All right, we will go ahead and move on to item 9, Program Park of the Month. I believe that was postponed, correct, Denise?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to item 10, Parks Reports.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum. Can you hear me okay? Okay, just a few updates for everybody. Just wanted to let you know that obviously, as we've all been monitoring the Caldor fire and the Dixie fire, there's obviously been impacts from smoke and air quality for a lot of our programs and aquatics facilities and closures to our regional shooting facilities. So obviously this last weekend, we were all thankful for seeing some better skies, and we hope that continues. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the impacts that we had on our programming. The good news is we did get to wrap up some of our programs, both our campfire program for Galena Creek Park, and then also the summer music series out at Lazy 5. So other than that, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that balloon races, the Great Reno Balloon Races began their setup today. They are moving forward with the event as planned, and we're hopeful we can continue with the clear skies. If anybody has any additional questions on the park updates, let me know.
Thank you, Colleen. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to item 11, Director's Reports.
Good afternoon. For the record, Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager, Washoe County. Just one quick update to you all since there were no action taken by the Board of County Commissioners in the last month. However, on Tuesday, September 14th, there's an item of interest to this group that will appear on the Board of County Commissioners agenda. As you'll recall, Mike Mazzaferri and the First Tee came and gave a presentation to you all related to an unsolicited proposal for the kind of the future of Wild Creek Golf Course. And so we have taken some time to work with the First Tee of Northern Nevada to really understand the best kind of approach moving forward. And so we're actually going to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve a resolution to declare Washoe County's intent to convey the property to First Tee of Northern Nevada to be utilized for golf purposes in perpetuity, with a reversionary clause, much like we just had there, that if they don't, if for some reason golf does not, First Tee cannot continue with golf at that location, it will come back to Washoe County for use as golf or open space property. So that's the notice of intent. It kind of gives us that kickoff, the buy-in from the Board of County Commissioners to let the community know of our notice to our intent to move down this path. Then it'll be followed up with a date for a public hearing to hear any objections to that, and then in future actual conveyance to First Tee if everything goes as kind of we think it will. So wanted to make sure that you are all apprised of that since it won't come back before this board. You guys already gave your recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. Now we're following the policy for unsolicited proposals, and that's where we're headed. So wanted to bring that to your attention. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have for the director.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Mr. Solero?
Commissioner Lee, so just to clarify, this is going to be happening at the County Commissioner meeting on the next Tuesday?
That is correct.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we will go ahead and move on to item 12, Commissioners' comments. Seeing some head nodding.
This is Doug Doolittle. I have none.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to item 13, public comments.
We have no public comment.
Thank you, Denise. Alrighty, a short meeting today. Thank you everyone for joining. We will adjourn the meeting at 3:03 p.m. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.